Both controlled movement and autonomic reflexes are carried out by the body's nervous system. The nervous system controls movement by sending electrical signals, known as nerve impulses, along a network of specialized nerve cells called neurons. This allows coordinated movement and a constant internal environment to be maintained homeostasis. The nervous system consists of two main sections, the central nervous system known as CNS and the peripheral nervous system PNS. The central nervous system is made up of the brain and spinal cord, whereas the peripheral nervous system contains motor and sensory neurons, which carry impulses to and from the central nervous system. There are three types of neurons. The sensory neuron carries impulses from a receptor to the spinal cord and brain. Relay or connector neurons are carried impulses between different parts of the central nervous system, and the motor or the effector neurons carries nervous impulses from the central nervous system to the effector, such as a muscle. Synapses, where two neurons meet, is called a synapse. The synapse forms a gap called a synaptic cleft between the presynaptic neuron and the postsynaptic neuron. When an impulse arrives at the presynaptic neuron, vesicles in the neuron fuse with the membrane, releasing a neurotransmitter into the synaptic cleft. The neurotransmitter diffuses across the synapse, binding to receptors on the postsynaptic neuron. This triggers a nervous impulse in the postsynaptic neuron, thus, the impulse can continue. Synapses ensure unidirectionality of nervous impulses, as the vesicles containing the neurotransmitter are only present in the presynaptic neuron, whilst the receptors are only present in the postsynaptic neuron, thus the impulse cannot travel backwards. Many drugs act upon synapses. Stimulants such as caffeine can cause the release of neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin into synapse, whereas depressants such as heroin and alcohol inhibit synapses by blocking the receptors on the postsynaptic neuron so that impulses cannot be sent. Reflexes. Some movement is involuntary. Organisms have adapted to carry out automatic reflexes when in danger in order to quickly remove themselves from a hazard, such as fire or sharp objects. As these reactions must occur all almost instantly to protect the organism, the neuron impulse does not travel to the brain. Voluntary impulses are controlled by the brain. The reflex arc, a stimulus such as heat from a flame, is detected by receptors. The receptors send an impulse down the sensory neuron to the spinal cord. The relay neuron in the central nervous system passes the impulse to the motor neuron. The impulse travels along the motor neuron to an effector such as a muscle, which reacts to remove the organism from the danger. Sense organs are a group of receptor cells which respond to a specific stimulus. Stimulus means surrounding or environment, such as the eye is a sense organ which responds to light. Other sense organs may respond to temperature, touch, sound, and chemicals. So, moving towards the eye structure, cornea, a clear layer which coats the iris. The cornea refracts the light into the eye. Iris, the colored section of the eye. This controls the amount of light that enters the eye by contracting and dilating the pupil. Pupil allows the light into the eye. Lens, positioned behind the iris. The lens changes shape in order to focus the image on the retina. Retina contains rod and cone cells which are sensitive to light. These are also called photoreceptors. There are also many blood vessels which supply nutrients to these cells. Fovea, a section in the middle of the retina which contains a large amount of cone cells. This section provides the clearest image. Optic nerve. Each photoreceptor cell is attached to a neuron. These neurons group together to form the optic nerve, which carries the impulse to the brain. Rods and cones are the two types of photoreceptor cells found in the eye. The shape of rods is the rod shaped and the cone is cone shaped. The main function of rods is used for monochromatic night vision as they are more sensitive to low levels of light, such as they only provide black and white shades. In the cone, used for color vision in bright light, there are three types of cone cells, each sensitive to a different color red, green, and blue. The distribution of Ross's cells is evenly distributed at the periphery of the retina, absent at the fovea, and of the cones is concentrated on the fovea. Pupil reflex. The pupil of the eye can expand and contract to control the amount of light that enters the eye. This action is carried out by the two sets of muscles, circular muscles and radial muscles, which work antagonistically. At low light intensities, the pupil dilates to allow more light to enter the eye by relaxing the circular muscles and contracting the radial muscles. At high light intensities, the pupil constricts to limit the amount of light entering the eye by relaxation of radial muscles and the contraction of circular muscles. This is to prevent the eye being damaged by the bright light. The augmentation is the eye can focus on both near and far objects. This is achieved by changing the shape of the lens, which is controlled by ciliary muscles and suspensory ligaments. These work antagonistically. The shape of the lens, as well as its curvature, is altered to change the way light is refracted onto the retina, focusing the image. To focus on near objects, the ciliary muscles contract whilst the suspensory ligaments relax, making the lens fatter and curved. To focus on distant objects, the ciliary muscles relax whilst the suspensory ligaments contract, making the lens thinner and less curved. The endocrine system produces and secretes hormones. Hormones are molecules that travel in the blood and are used for signaling in the body. They are produced in glands such as the pituitary and adrenal glands before being excreted into the blood, where they travel to target organs and cause a change in the cells. Endocrine glands, a network of hormone-secreting glands, make up the endocrine system. This system helps to control growth, metabolism, and homeostasis among other functions. Here's the example of glands and functions. The gland, adrenal gland, located at the top of the kidneys, produce the hormone adrenaline. The function of the adrenaline hormone is to secreting during the fight or flight response and when stressed or excited. It leads to an increase in impulse rate and widened pupil. It also causes glycogen to be converted to glucose in cells so that it can be used in respiration for energy. Heart rate increases to provide more oxygen for this. The pancreas produces hormone insulin, which maintains blood glucose concentration. The gland testes produce the hormone testosterone, which maintains muscles and bone strength and plays a role in reproduction. And the ovaries also produce the hormone estrogen, which regulates female reproductive system. Endocrine system versus nervous system. Nervous impulses travel along neurons, whereas hormones travel in the blood. Nervous impulses are much quicker than hormones, as hormones must be transported into the blood, whereas nervous impulses can travel along specialized nerve cells. Nervous impulses are instantaneous and short lived, whereas a hormonal response can be long lasting. The endocrine system uses chemical hormones, whereas the nervous system uses electrical signals.